Across Africa, something silent, yet powerful, is happening. It is not the loud voice of war, not the shout of revolution, but the quiet return of a superpower that once ruled half the world's politics. That power is Russia. For years, Africa's story has been told through the rivalry between the West and China. But behind the noise, Russia has been moving, quietly, slowly, and strategically. From Libya to Mali, from Sudan to the Horn of Africa, the Kremlin is building new bridges. It's not the return of the old Soviet Union, but a new version, smarter, more patient, and far more calculated. To understand what this means for Somalia, we have to look back. During the Cold War, Somalia and the Soviet Union were once close allies. In the early 1970s, Soviet ships docked at Somali ports. Soviet generals trained Somali soldiers, and Soviet engineers helped build infrastructure. Somalia was seen as Moscow's key partner in East Africa. But that friendship ended suddenly after the Ogaden War of 1977, when Somalia turned toward the United States. The Soviet advisors packed their bags and left Mogadishu. For decades after that, Russia disappeared from Somalia's map, as if it had never been there. But history has a way of repeating itself. Today, Russia is quietly returning to Africa, and Somalia is again becoming important. The reason is simple: geography. Somalia sits at one of the most strategic points on Earth, the Horn of Africa. Its long coastline stretches across the Indian Ocean, overlooking the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a narrow passage connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. Billions of dollars worth of oil, gas, and goods pass through that route every year. Whoever influences this area holds a key position in global trade and security. That's what makes Somalia special, and that's why Moscow is paying attention again. Unlike in the old days, Russia's comeback is not driven by ideology. It's driven by opportunity. Africa is rich in minerals, energy, and markets. And it's full of governments looking for partners that don't lecture them about democracy or human rights. Moscow offers exactly that: cooperation without conditions. In places like Mali and the Central African Republic, Russia provides weapons, military training, and security protection. In return, it gains mining rights, political loyalty, and influence. It's a win-win, at least for now. In Sudan, Russia signed an agreement for a naval base on the Red Sea, giving it direct access to one of the world's most strategic waters. That base, once fully built, would allow Russian warships to refuel and resupply without needing Western permission. It's a big step in Moscow's plan to build a presence across the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. And Somalia is the next logical target. Recent diplomatic activity hints at this quiet connection. Russian officials have met Somali leaders, offering support in areas like defense, counterterrorism, and maritime security. There are even reports of interest in establishing a small Russian naval cooperation point along Somalia's coast. Not a full base yet, but a presence that could grow over time. Russia's approach is silent, cautious, and long-term. It's not here to make headlines, it's here to stay. Meanwhile, Somalia's geopolitical environment is getting more complex. The United States operates its drone missions from nearby bases in Djibouti. China has its first overseas military base there too. Turkey trains Somali soldiers and has built deep relations in Mogadishu. The United Arab Emirates controls ports in Berbera and Bosaso. The region is already full of global actors. If Russia joins in, the Horn of Africa becomes one of the most crowded and contested spaces on Earth. For Somalia, this competition can be both a blessing and a risk. On one hand, it means more attention, more investment, and potentially more support for development and security. On the other, it means the danger of becoming a battleground for foreign powers, a place where other nations fight their political wars. History shows how costly that can be. The challenge for Somalia's leaders now is to play this game smartly, to welcome partnerships, but not lose independence. Russia's presence in Africa is not only about military influence, It's also about food, energy, and diplomacy. Moscow has signed dozens of grain and fertilizer deals with African countries. It hosts annual Russia-Africa summits, inviting presidents and ministers from across the continent. Its message is clear: Russia is back, and we are your partner. For many African leaders, this message sounds appealing, especially when Western nations are cutting aid or imposing conditions. Russia's narrative is simple: equality, respect, and mutual benefit. But behind those soft words lies a strong strategic motive: access, influence, and control. If Russia gains a foothold in Somalia, it could reshape the entire security balance of the Horn of Africa. It would bring Moscow closer to the Red Sea, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Indian Ocean routes, regions that are vital for global trade and oil transport. This would challenge the dominance of Western navies and create a new power equation in East Africa. For the Kremlin, that's a prize worth waiting for. But what about Somalia itself? The country is still rebuilding after decades of conflict. Its institutions are fragile, its economy is developing, and its security challenges are real. Foreign partnerships can help, but only if they respect Somalia's sovereignty. The danger is that Somalia could be pulled into other people's power struggles, between America and Russia, or between the West and China. In the coming years, Somalia will need a clear foreign policy vision. It must decide what kind of relationships to build, and on what terms. Should it open its ports and coastlines to new partners like Russia? Should it rely more on regional allies like Turkey? Or should it balance between all of them? The answers will shape the future of Somalia's independence, security, and regional role. As Russia quietly rebuilds its presence in Africa, one thing is becoming clear: global power is shifting. The Horn of Africa is no longer just a regional issue. It's becoming a global crossroads. Every step taken here affects trade, security, and diplomacy worldwide. For Somalia, this means opportunity, but also responsibility. Because in today's world, silence is never empty. Behind every quiet move lies a bigger plan. Behind every handshake, a strategy. Russia's return to Africa is not about noise. It's about patience. And for Somalia, the question remains: will it use this moment to build its future, or let others write its story once again?